A very big shakeup today on President Trump's legal team as lead attorney John Dowd resigned. Trump reportedly was displeased this weekend when the attorney called on the Justice Department to end the special counsel's investigation. Well, another conflict was exposed today when Trump said that he favored what Dowd had opposed.
Mr. President, would you still like to testify to Special Counsel Robert Mueller, sir?
Thank you. Sure, I would like to. I would like to.
I would like to, as in talk to the special counsel. But is the president walking into a trap? Let's ask two of the sharpest legal minds out there. Emeritus Harvard Law professor Alan Dershowitz, author of the book, The Case Against BDS, Why Singling Out Israel for Boycott is Anti-Semitic and Anti-Peace. And in San Francisco, attorney Harmeet Dillon, who's the national committee woman for the RNC for California. Great to see both of you. Professor Dershowitz and Harmeet, we've talked about this issue. It sends a chill down my spine and up my spine as a former defense attorney to hear about how the president wants to go in and talk to Mueller. Professor Dershowitz, what are the pitfalls here?
Well, you know, what I couldn't believe is what I heard on television shows, that he actually offered a job to be his lawyer to Bob Bennett. Bob Bennett, I wonder if anybody told him, was the lawyer who got Bill Clinton impeached. Bob Bennett was the lawyer who told Bill Clinton, it's okay, you can testify at a deposition about your sex life, and that's what got him impeached. He could have easily settled the case for $750,000. I called it the greatest legal blunder of the 20th century, and Bob Bennett was offered a job to come and become Trump's lawyer. I don't know what's going on in that White House. He, of course, should not testify unless he absolutely has to. And if he has to, it should be under the most rigorous restrictions of time and type of questions. And he should be prepared to answer yes, no, I don't recall, instead of giving long answers. Because the one thing they're trying to get him on is perjury. And there's no defense against that. Perjury is one of those specified in the Constitution for impeachment, and that's the one issue that has to be avoided at all cost.
Full disclosure, actually, I worked for Bob Bennett at Skadden Arps many years ago. I didn't work on that case, but I did work for Bennett at Skadden Arps. Harmeet, I would ask you about this. You know, the big swirling controversy is, oh, no lawyer wants to work for Donald Trump. Well, first of all, a lot of law firms, big law firms, don't like getting involved in these big political matters for a variety of reasons. And Trump, you know, everything's very toxic now. But this is what the former acting Solicitor General for Obama said today. Let's watch.
I represented bin Laden's driver, but I'd have trouble representing Donald Trump. And the reason for that is very simple, which is, you know, the guy doesn't believe in the rule of law.
That's coming from the Obama administration with the way they, of course, handled the Hillary email investigation and so forth. But Harmeet, your reaction to this, what about written answers to questions? What about just a narrow area in which Donald Trump would answer questions? Could that be acceptable? Or is that another, as Professor Dershowitz says, perjury trap, perhaps?
Well, I think it's less of a perjury trap if the president answers written questions, but it causes its own problems. I mean, for one thing, I don't think the president of the United States, setting aside whether it's Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, or whoever, should be answering questions like this from a special counsel unless there is clear evidence of a crime and also is showing that he's the only person who can answer those questions. Absent that, this is a perjury trap, and it does trouble me as a supporter of the president that he wants to talk to special counsel under these circumstances. It is absolutely a perjury trap. And I think that one of the frustrations here of his lawyers and other lawyers is that maybe the president isn't following the sound advice of some of his lawyers, which is a serious problem. And, you know, a lot of lawyers would have a problem with a client who isn't following good advice. So that's
Professor Dershowitz, that's a big issue, right? Because Donald Trump's such a strong personality. He's been his own advisor and been pretty successful in doing that time after time. When people said no, he said yes, and he usually wins. But the law is a very different deal. And so you can talk about that. You're managing a client that doesn't want to listen.
It's very, very difficult, of course. But I love what the former Solicitor General said. He wouldn't represent Donald Trump because he doesn't believe in the rule of law, but he represented bin Laden's driver. None of these, criminals generally don't believe in the rule of law. If that was the basis for not representing somebody, all of us criminal lawyers would be out of business. That's a phony argument. I think the better argument is that it's hard to represent a client who doesn't listen to you, who doesn't take your advice. I think the president is doing something very strategic, by the way. I think he has good cop, bad cop. He has the good cops who are trying to make a deal with the special counsel to limit his exposure, to limit the kinds of questions. But then he's also preparing bad cops, Joe DeGenova, who can get on television, who can go to court, who can help litigate. I don't think that's such a bad strategy. The problem is somebody like Dowd didn't want to be caught in the middle of that. He wanted to be in control of the strategy, and he wanted to play only good cop.
I also think,
Laura,
go ahead, Harmeet.
I was going to say I agree with Alan, but you can't be both the good cop and the bad cop. And Dowd had the situation where last week he was calling on the White House on the special counsel to limit his investigation, and you can't be that same person who's negotiating the terms of the interview of the president.
That's right.
So
yeah.
He can't have it both ways.
I do think also, and
I agree with that.
I also think, guys, we're almost out of time, but you also have to bring in people who are not sometimes in their late 70s, early 80s. Again, not ageist,
hey.
But this is other than you, Dersh. But you've already been asked this question. But it's important to bring in people who are in the prime and have experience and so forth. I know he's interviewed Emmett Flood, who's an old co-clerk of mine, phenomenal Williams and Connolly attorney. You can put together a team that has senior statesmen, lawyers. You can have a little bit younger, and bring that dynamic at play.
You left out one group.
What?
You left out one group.
What?
He ought to and he must include women on his defense team. You
100%.
need to have women on a defense team. Absolutely.
Because we're smarter.
You need young people. You need people of color. You need people who are women. You need people from every background. You don't know what you're going to get when you get a jury. You don't know what judge you're going to pull. You must be prepared for every eventuality. Yeah. Look, we know that they put the case in the District of Columbia because they wanted a particular kind of jury rather than the Virginia jury. Both sides have to be able to play that game and get the maximum advantage out of the differences in jurors, differences in defense counsel, differences in judges.
They're not going to be having a jury, though, Alan.
Well, God forbid we get to a jury in this case. Thank you.
Jury trial.
Maybe not against Donald Trump, but against some of the other people. By the way, my colleague Larry Tribe has now changed his mind and says you can actually prosecute a sitting president. He had previously, when Clinton was president, said you can't prosecute a sitting president. I think he was right the first time, not this time. I don't think you can prosecute a sitting president, though it's not clear as a matter of law.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But I think he's got to get the best team in place. I don't care what color you are or what your background is. But women attorneys, Harmeet, they're really smart. So that's why I want to bring them in.
Absolutely.
Fantastic, guys.